All right, so in today's lesson, what we're going to do is we're going to construct a circle graph. So, what we have is a table that provides the information on the number of homes that use different types of fuel for heat. We're going to construct a circle graph using the information in the table. And then they give us over here the different types of homes, or I'm sorry, they give us the different types of fuels and the number of homes that are using these different sources of fuel. And so when we talk about a circle graph, remember that the circle is representing 100%. Okay. So the 100% will represent all of these homes. And so what we want to do is when we're constructing a graph, we want to make sure that each percentage or of the circle is representative of the actual graph that we started with. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to figure out what percentage of the circle each one of these homes are representing or sources of fuel. So the first thing that we're going to do is write down what we have. So we have electric, we have fuel oil, we have gas, wood, and other. All right, and so we know that for electric, we're using 66. 66 of the homes are using electric. So remember, it's a part to whole comparison. So we are saying 66 of the homes, and because it's a part to whole, you also need to know what the whole number is. So to find that, you're going to add up all of these homes. So we have 66 plus 20 plus 100 plus 8 plus 6. So that means that there's a total of 200 homes. So 66 of the 200 homes are using electric for fuel. And so to figure out what that percentage is, you're just going to use division because that's what a fraction is. It's division. So we're going to say 66 divided by 200. And that gives us 0.33. Okay. So we're going to write that up here. 66. And what we did was divided it by 200, and that gave us 0.33, which is also known as, remember, you can convert this into a percentage by moving your decimal two places to the right. So 0.33, 1, 2. So your decimal would be here. You're going to drop your decimal and turn it into a percent sign. Okay. So that means that this is equal to 33%. Okay. So we're going to do that for all of our fuel types. So here we have 20. We're going to divide that by 200. So 20, that's our part. The number of homes that are using fuel oil, 200 represents all of the homes. So we've got 20 divided by 200, which would be 10%. So you've got 20 divided by 200 is 0.1. Remember to turn that into a percent, you move your decimal two places. So 1, 2. So your decimal would end up here. Okay, so it would look like 0.1 point, right? And you're going to drop your decimal and turn it into a percent. So that's 10%. So 0.1 is equal to 10%. So we have that. We're going to move on to gas. We have 100 homes, and that's out of 200 homes. And so I know that that's going to be 50%. So you could do your division again. 100 divided by 200 gives me 0.5. Okay, and then remember to turn that into a percent. Move your decimal 0.5. Move your decimal two places to the right, 1, 2. So your decimal should end up here. So now it looks like 0.50. Drop your decimal, turn it into a percent, and so that's 50%. And the next one that we're going to go to is going to be we've done gas. Let's do our wood. So we have 8 out of the 200 homes. So we're going to plug in 8 divided by 200. That gives me 0.4. Okay, so 0.4. Turn that into a percent. So we're going to move it 1, 2 times. So now that looks like 40. Drop your decimal, turn into a percent sign. So that is 40%. So that's 40%. Okay. And then the last one is going to be 6 out of 200 homes. So 6 divided by 200 gives me 0.3. So 0.3. Another way that you can find percent is, remember, multiply it by 100. So we could say times 100, and that gives me 3%. Okay, so 3%. All right, so we know what the percentages are for each of the pieces of our information. And now we're going to construct our circle graph. And in order for us to construct our circle graph, remember that a circle is 360 degrees. So in total, we have 360 degrees that make up the whole circle. And so what we need to do is figure out what angles we need to make for each one of these so that they total up to 360 degrees. And so to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to go back to each one of these sources, and we're going to take our percentages. Well, there's a couple ways that you could do it. You could set it up as a proportional relationship. So we could say, hey, it's a part to whole comparison. Part to whole comparison. And when we were talking about electric, it was 66 for the part. It was 200 in total for the number of homes that are using that fuel source. And when we talk about our percentages, so here's our percentages, and this is our quantity, number of homes. So when we talk about our percentages, we know that the whole of a circle is going to be 360. So we have to find out 360 degrees. So this represents our degrees. I should say degrees. All right, so that represents 360 degrees for a whole circle. We need to figure out what degree we will have for our portion that will represent that 66 out of 200. So you can use whatever method you like for you to figure that out. So you can use the fish method, the swing method, or cross multiply. I am going to use, I will use the swing method for this one. So the swing method, I'm going to go from my larger to my smallest. I know I'm going to use division, so I'm going to say 360. 360 divided by 200, which gives me 1.8. Remember that what you do at the bottom, you're going to do at the top if you are going in the same direction. And you always start with what you know and work towards what you don't know. Now, my arrow at the bottom is going from my right to left, and at the top, we're going from left to right. So they are not going in the same direction. The only thing that needs to change is that you're going to change your operation from a division sign to a multiplication sign. So 66 times, leave the same number. This number does not change, times 1.8. So we're going to say 1.8 times 66, or 66 times 1.8. That means that my percentage is going to be, X is going to be equal to 108.8 degrees. Okay. Now I'm going to round it to the nearest whole number. So rounding it to the nearest whole number, that would actually be approximately 119 degrees. So that's what we have here. That's going to be 119 degrees for that part of the circle. All right, so the next thing that we're going to do is same thing for each one of these different fuel sources for us to figure out what their degrees are. Okay, so we could do fuel oil now. We've got part to whole comparison. Part to whole comparison. Remember, here is our quantities, and here is going to be our degrees. Okay. So we're going to do 20 for our part, 200 for the whole, and then we know that a whole number, or the total amount of a circle in degrees, is 360. So we need to figure out what the degrees is going to be for this ratio. All right, so this one I'm going to use cross multiply. So under cross multiply, I'm going to say 20 times 360 is going to be equal to 200 times X, or 200 X's, okay? So now what we have is 36 times 2, that will give me 72, and then I see 2 zeros. You could do your multiplication if you wanted to just double check and make sure that it's correct. It's going to be equal to 200. X. I noticed that the X is not isolated, so I need to think about what operation is happening between a number and a variable. Remember, anytime that we put a number next to a variable, it means that it is multiplication. So now I need to use division to isolate it. So I'm going to divide both sides, okay, by 200. So now what we have is going to be 7,200 divided by 200. Well, I know that 72 divided by 2 is going to give me 31. No, 30, let me see, 35, 36. Okay, so 36, and then that's going to be our answer. Those zeros will cancel out, but again, you can go on and plug in the information if you needed to, right? So we have 7,200 divided by 200, and that gave us 36. Okay, so that's equal to 200 divided by 200. That cancels out. We're just left with that 1. X, so I'm going to put X's here. So that percentage, 20 of 200, represents 36 degrees. So that's 36 degrees. Okay, so we have the second one. Now we're going to move into the third one. And this one we're going to use the fish method. All right, so our third one is where it's a part to whole comparison. Part to whole. Over here, we're talking about our quantities, and over here, we're talking about degrees, okay? All right, so we know that now we're talking about gas. There's 100 of 200 total, and then our whole for the degrees is 360 degrees. We're going to put an X here to let us know what that degree is going to represent for the gas. And so under the fish method, so this is the fish method, you're going to remember those 3 steps. So we're going to start on the side that has the variable. We're going to start with what we know. We're going to cross multiply, divide, and then give the answer. So those 3 stops should give us the answers, right? So this is stop 1, stop 2, and stop 3 is your answer, okay? So step 1, we're going to multiply. Step 2, we'll divide. Step 3, you'll provide the answer. All right, so what are we doing first? We're going to start from 360. Our first stop was up here at the 100. So I'm going to take 360 times 100. Okay, you can plug it into your calculator, but once you start learning about base 10s, remember anytime that you multiply by 10, you move to the right. Okay, so 10 times 10 means I'm moving twice. And I just look at the zeros. That tells me how many times I need to move my decimal. So we basically have our decimal here. So it looks right now like it's 360 point, and then I'm going to move it 2 places to the right. So now it looks like 36,000. So you can do your calculation if you feel that that's better for you. All right, so we've got 36,000. Now I'm going to take that 36,000 and I'm going to divide by wherever I am for step 2, which is 200. All right. And so if we have 36,000 divided by 200, we get 180. Okay, and now I'm going to take this 180 and plug it here into my answer. So 180 what? 180 degrees. That's our answer for this one. So this one is 180 degrees. All right, so those are the 3 methods I've shown you guys with the swing, the cross multiply, and the fish. Now I'm going to show you an even easier way for you to solve it because we've already done this. What you could do is say, hey, 8 divided by 200, 8 divided by 200, that gave us 40%. And so what we can do is just multiply whatever our percentage was, so 0.4, okay, or 40%, and you're going to multiply by the whole amount of a circle, so times 360. Okay, so 40% of 360, that's 0.4 times 360. That means that this is going to represent 144 degrees. Okay, and let's see. So we've got, was that 4%? 4%. Oh, guess what? I made an error when I did this one. My apologies. This one should actually be 0.4. Okay, I don't know how I messed that up. Let's see. 8 divided by 200. 8 divided by 200 was 0.4. So my apologies. That was actually 0.04. Okay. And if we move the decimal 2 places, that's the same thing as 4%. Okay. So this is not correct. Let's fix that. All right. So we should have 4%. So that's 0.04 times 360. So 0.04, that's 4% times 360. That gives me 14.4. So 14.4% or degrees. And then we have over here, so that's 14.4. We're going to round this to the nearest whole number. So if we're rounding that to the nearest whole number, 14.4 degrees, that should be 14 degrees. So we're going to say 14 degrees, okay? And instead of equal, I'm going to put an approximation sign in here, 14 degrees. All right, and then we have our last one on here. So we're going to do the same thing. Remember, it's same thing. I think I made a mistake down here. Okay, 6 divided by 200 should be equal to 0.3, 0.03. So that's 0.03. And if you move the decimal 2 places to the right, it should be 3%. Okay, so now what we're going to do is multiply 0.03 times 360 times 360, and that gives me 10.8. So that's 10.8. And if we're rounding to the nearest whole number, that should be 11. So it's approximately 11 degrees. Let's just make sure everything looks good. This should be 119. We have 36, we have 180, we have 14, and we have 11 degrees. Now, if we add all those up, because remember, they're percentages of the whole. If we add everything up, 119 plus 36 plus 180 plus 14 plus 11, we get a total of 360, which means we have the whole circle represented. Okay, so now what we're going to do is how do we graph it? So we're going to graph it, and we'll have to use a few tools. So we're going to need a compass. So a compass is this tool here, and you will also need your protractor. So I have a protractor and a compass for us to go on and show that. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a circle, and I'm going to just measure that circle. I'm going to make it so that it's about 3 inches. So I'm going to go over here. I'm starting at 0, and it should go out to about 3. So this is how wide my radius will be. Okay, so remember, the radius twice is the diameter. So the diameter of the circle is going to be 6 inches. Okay, so I'm going to start with that. And let me scroll over so you can see it. Okay, and so now what I'm going to do is just take my compass. Up, I didn't start in the center, so let's try that over. And what I usually do is make sure that it's going to fit, is go like this, 3 on this side, and I should have 3 on this side. Okay, much better. All right, so what you're going to do is just hold on to here. What you could do is just move your paper. Just going to turn my paper. There we go. So there's our circle. And so now we're going to graph each one of those points that we have. So our central point, remember, the center of a circle is where I laid the protractor. Let me see if I can feel it. If not, I'll just, oh, I think it's right here. Yep. Right, isn't that it? Yep, so this is our center here. So our center is right here. And so now what we're going to do is graph each of these angles that we had here. So we need our first one to be 119 degrees. So what I'm going to do is take my protractor. I'm going to put it on the central angle. So I'm going to put it right there. Right? I can go like this. And you can start anywhere. But what I would do is I would just make a notch here. That's my start. and then you need to go up to, what was it, 119 degrees. So this is 0 here, so I'm going to follow around until I get to 119, and 119 is going to be right there. Okay, so there's my first angle right there. So I'm saying that I'm going to go here, and it's going to go over to there. So now what I'm going to do is just take my protractor, and I'm going to measure that out. So it needs to go across that line that I created into the edge. So there's that, and here's that. All right, so this angle was, and we can look at it and see, it's 119. So we started at 0, and it went all the way over here to 119. Okay, so this represents our electric. That's 119 degrees. This is the electric. Do I have an eraser? All right, so the next one that we have now is 36 degrees, and that's our fuel oil. So I'm going to start from here, okay? Start from there, so that's 0. Put this on the center. Make sure that this is going across that line. And so now we need to go to 36. So remember, we're starting from 0. We're going to go until we can see 36. This is 35, so 36 is going to be this notch right there. Okay. All right, so now I'm going to move that. Make sure that my protractor goes on that measure. And then I'm just going to draw my line. All right, and so if we started here as our 0, make that our 0, and we go out, you can see it's like right there at 36 degrees. Okay, so that 36 degrees is going to represent our fuel oil. So 36 degrees, this is our fuel oil. All right, our next one that we have was 180 degrees. Remember that 180 degrees is basically a straight line. So whatever we're looking at, it's going to be a straight line. So let's see. So if we're starting from here, our straight line should go like right across here. So this would be like 180 degrees. But let's just double check and make sure. So we're going to put our protractor there. Make sure that it's going across that line. And we're looking for 180 degrees. So starting at 0, you keep on going, and here's 180 degrees right there. So that's our 180 degrees. And so I should be on that line, just going straight across through that other line that I just created. And it should go right there. So notice that that's a straight line going across, okay? So that 180 degrees is our gas. So 180 degrees, not 18, 180 degrees is going to be gas. All right, so we still got 2 more. We have our wood, which is 14%. So we're going to start here. So we should be right there at this start. And we need to go to 14. So 14 should be 10. This is 14, like right here. Okay, so this is 14. So I'm going to take that, go along that center, and then make this here. So that 14% represents wood. 14 degrees, not percent. All right, and then if we go and check it, we should see that it's about 14 degrees, right? So we see 10, and it's like right there at that 14. And that means that the remainder should be like 11 degrees, which we see if we go up here to our center, we're like right there at 11 degrees, okay? So there you go right here. That 11 degrees represents other. So that is how we would create a circle graph, okay? So we've drawn the circle, Each one of these percentages adds up so that it comes out to be 360 degrees.